Hello, this is week 9 of the 13-week fiscal program for American Descendants of Slavery. You have myself, Chief Biko, Chief Alligator, Chief Quietwater, Chief Akibalan, as well as Chief Blackcoat. And here we focus more so on the first letter of the acronym in ADOS, which is American. This week we will be jumping into the secessions, which pretty much led up to the Civil War. But prior to that, again, we're always going to start off with reading two important things within the Constitution. I'll go ahead and share my screen to make sure everyone is able to view this. Bam. Okay. So the first thing we're going to get into would be, I believe it's 10, yes. Section 10 of the Constitution. And this will be Article 1, Section 10. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. So again, one thing we always continue to stress pretty much every week is that this current money or the current paper that we call money is not money. It's not money constitutionally, and it's not money worldwide, pretty much, if you think about it, because it isn't backed by anything that is tangible, such as gold and silver. And here, as we can see within this Constitution, anything but gold and silver coin a payment in debts. So when we're passing these bills back and forth, we aren't paying anything off. So again, we have to continue to realize that, you know, this system it runs off the faith of its citizens, the faith of us. So until we start to realize that and remove ourselves from it and realize, hey, we're working for, is it even money? That's when we'll continue to, or we'll finally break away. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, man, this Monopoly game got to end someday. Someday.
Facts.
And keep printing it.
Facts.
I'll add on to that first sentence, since we're going into the Civil War. It says, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation. Our ancestors had confederations as a form of American government. You can see is the United States government and its states. Basically, they're barring us from going back to an American form of government because no state can enter into a confederation.
Correct.
So that means you have an issue with the United States government because it's already banned its individual states from allowing confederations. So that's a way of them blocking American form of government on this land. Once they set up their form of government, they're basically told all their states, you can no longer do business as confederations. And so the whole idea is to wipe that memory away from us, that our government, stop redneck when you see the rebel flag. That's American form of government. I'll stop it there.
Great point. I know that's something I wanted to kind of mention or piggyback off of last week, but I came in late. But I did just want to give the viewers the definition of confederation as well. An organization which consists of a number of parties or groups united in an alliance or league. So, as Chief Alligator stated, they put this into the Constitution for a reason. They didn't want us, again, the tribes, to come together to form a group or a party, which would, again, of course, become or be rebuilding back our confederation. So that's a key part in knowing this, and a key piece in understanding their game plan to block that. The next thing we're going to go to is Article 6, I believe. Yes, Article 6. And again, this is the main reason why we read all of those treaties earlier in the weeks here. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. So again, it says it right here, people within the Constitution, that treaties are the supreme law of the land. And the treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. Any thoughts on that?
Self-explanatory. Can you also do Article 2, Section 2? That's one of the things we want to keep drilling to. Article 2, Section 2.
Article 2, Section 2. Okay, perfect. Yes.
And just that first half, we're stop at several states. Yep.
All right, Article 2, Section 2. Again, when we see, pretty much when we saw what happened on January 6th of this year, it can be pretty much said that the acting president at that time, Donald Trump, was pretty much enacting his constitutional right or his constitutional powers. The president shall be commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states. So when we saw last year or 2020, when President Trump contacted the governor of Wisconsin, or it might have been Kenosha, and he said, get things in order, meaning, contact the National Guard. If you don't, I'll do something. What he did was pretty much tell him, if you don't, I'll be calling on the militia. And as you can see, they're a militia of several states. So several states have militias. So it's not just one state that has a militia, not just talking about Georgia, Florida.
And showed the map.
We showed the map. And that was, again, just one state. So we see here within the Constitution, there's several states that have their own militia. You want to build off of that, Chief Black Coat?
No, we're just, throwing out there that we didn't show maps, different military maps of them outlining the entire American space or the American land. So, we do this every week. It shouldn't surprise people. We got to understand, this thing, there's militias everywhere. Mm-hmm. And the president's pretty much the commander-in-chief of it.
Mm-hmm.
And also just to bring it to light that, most people don't know this information. And when they're publicly saying these things, it goes over everyone's head. But they make it clear for the people that do understand the steps that they are taking.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Lack of knowledge.
And if I can just piggyback on what Chief Blackcoat and Chief Quietwater just said with the Kyle Rittenhouse case, recent example of the power that the militia has. Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't convicted, but it wasn't Kyle Rittenhouse that got off. It was actually the militia, because as Chief Biko stated, once the governor of Wisconsin could not get Kenosha under control, Donald Trump activated the militia, which is how you get a Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Right after the case was over with, he got flown to the location where the former president was, and they took pictures this week. And so most people that are uninformed, they're like, oh, Donald Trump is a racist. No, they're showing you that they're in order with their constitution. How did Kyle Rittenhouse take a picture with Donald Trump the week after his court case? Because he's a patriot in their eyes. Why? He's a part of the militia. And so I just want to bring that home, because we have to stop calling it racism. You're military occupied and you're prisoners of war. And I know that sounds like a low frequency statement, but it's a harsh reality. You move accordingly once you understand. It's not racism.
Racism is the cop-out, all gotten to that point to where, this ain't got nothing to do with no racism. It's way bigger than that.
Right.
We're past racism.
Correct.
Everybody can be racist, It's much bigger.
It's the military arm right here. And shoot, right here in this side.
Underage minor, AR, shoots and kills 2 people, represents him in court as a hero or a patriot, takes pictures with the president the following week. You connect those dots yourself. That's too easy. Like nothing we saying is foreign, and so when you see that, you're like, oh, okay, maybe they are on to something. Yeah, it's real out here.
For sure. Like you stated,
And I like
enacting what he's supposed to be doing as the militia. You know, making sure treason or
that's why he out there smiling. He like, look, I don't care about none of that. I know I'm good.
None of that.
And that's why I like what Chief Quarterwater just said. Yeah, us doing the homework, reading these sections and articles, when they talk now, we can sit back and listen. Most of the people, you know, they're just hearing it. There is no connection. They're like, what, huh? Yeah, they talking code automatically. But us reading the Constitution, we can start catching on to those pieces like, oh, okay. Stand back, stand down, whatever he said. Oh, who are you talking to? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, you just laid it out like that, man. And if it wasn't clear enough, I mean, just the president himself being the commander-in-chief of the Army, Navy, and militia, that should show you that this is military occupation right there.
Yeah.
One man who's supposed to represent many is in control of the Army, Navy, and the militia. And you wonder why. Military occupation. Plain and simple. Plain and simple.
Don't forget about your boy. See if he want to build on it. Chief of Kivalan.
Yes, sir. Chief of Kivalan. Any thoughts?
I don't even see him on my thing.
I think y'all pretty much hit everything on the head. I feel like what we're learning is basically just their code and how to decipher the code and the way that they speak. Because I feel like there's a way that they speak that's like, it has two sides. Like you can hear it just for what it is on the surface level, or you can really hear what they're saying. And I feel like we're figuring out like the things that they're saying.
Correct.
Just to put the nail in the coffin, y'all. This is Article 1 again, Section 8. If you look down here, let me see, to provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. So again, if we talk about what happened on January 6th, the commander-in-chief thought there was insurrection going on within Congress. So we called on the militia to come to DC and to make sure tyranny was pretty much expelled at that point.
Right.
So when they're calling on, making sure these people get charged, if we look at their game plan since, the inception of this country, doesn't seem like he did anything unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm.
So again, just understanding, hey, you gotta know your enemy's language. This military occupation, y'all.
That's a good observation. If you can make that a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
I see where you're going with that. And some people would be like, oh, you're a Trump supporter. But what you're really saying is we all know that Biden is not the most popular. There's no way more people voted for Biden than Obama, right? We know that. And what you're saying is Trump supporters knew that as well. To stop the transfer of power, you're saying that he called the militia to stop that transfer of power because they knew that Biden didn't get that support. But we have to stand on the edge of the coin and understand it doesn't matter whether it's the left wing or the right wing of that bird. Both of them practice benign and neglect when it comes to us. Neither wing of that bird is going to specifically talk to us. So that's kind of where we are right now. We want to be a part of an oppressive government that you've only been active in it for 60 years, since 1965. Less than 60 years.
Yeah.
And it's a harsh reality. We don't like to deal with that reality, but yeah, you were prisoners of war up until 1965. You couldn't vote. You wasn't a citizen. You couldn't sit on a jury. Yeah, I mean, this ain't hard.
Great point. Before we jump into the secessions, just to kind of segue from what we were just talking about, it's just as far as the two main trials that happened prior to Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving holiday. We know it to be a massacre. Prior to that, there were two main trials, of course, the Kyle Rittenhouse one as well as the Ahmaud Arbery. And saw Kyle Rittenhouse get off. But again, that wasn't really Kyle Rittenhouse, as Chief Alligator stated, that was the militia. But this one, just kind of want to take a step back to understand how we even got to this point. I'll let you take over as far as that, Chief Alligator, in regards to any of your thoughts, and then I'll have everybody else kind of just piggyback off of that.
Okay, real quick, we'll just go through this. So February 23rd, 2020, that was the day that Ahmaud Arbery was gunned down. Basically, you got three rednecks that went nigger hunting, point blank period. Father grabbed son, told him get shotgun, got in the vehicle, called their neighbor. The neighbor pulled up with the video, and they killed him on February 23rd. Medical examiner, the police that arrived on the scene, and the neighborhood, nobody said anything. The district attorney of that area saw the video that the neighbor recorded, didn't see anything wrong with it. So we can see 4 days later, February 27th, after the DA, Jackie Johnson, saw the video, basically said, I'm not going to press charges on you, then recused herself from the case, right? So put yourself in Ahmaud Arbery's parents' situation. Here you got a mother and father, and you got the DA and the police department telling you there's nothing you can do. Yeah, we know the autopsy say he got his stomach blown off and his stomach blown open and his arm blown off, but yeah, we're not going to do a court case on it. So understand that trauma. Then we go down to April 7th. The second prosecutor recuses themselves. So what we're seeing is organized crime. The initial district attorney said, I'm not pressing charges. They passed it to another district attorney. That person said, I'm not pressing charges. And then we get down to April 13th. The case is transferred through a third prosecutor, right? So what you're looking at is organized crime. Let's go down to May 5th. The video of the shooting surfaces. All right. May 7th, the Michaels are arrested. May 11th, a fourth prosecutor takes over. May 21st, Brian is arrested. That's the neighbor that did the bonehead move. Thankfully, he did it, but he uploaded the video. And what we have to remember now that we're in May, you got to remember, prisoners of war got hit with 3 videos last year, May. You got hit with Ahmaud Arbery first, then you got hit with George Floyd, and then Breonna Taylor. And so that exploded. The world erupted. Them 3 videos hit last year, May. And so you suffer from a short-term memory. But let me go back to Ahmaud Arbery. I didn't believe, and I was wrong a couple of weeks ago. I said I didn't believe that there was going to be a conviction, understanding that Georgia is a 13th colony and it's a military buffer state, and each one of these counties has a militia underneath it. We can clearly see that they were fighting to protect their militia. They can be in a separate organization called Ku Klux Klan, Rednecks, whatever you want to call it, but you had to get 4 district attorneys before this case could be tried. So you can see they were on code to protect this former sheriff, which is the McMichael.
And then ultimately, not to cut you off, but ultimately it was a prosecutor from Cobb County, from a district that, you know, a totally different district.
Correct. And so I'm going to say this again, I was wrong because I didn't think that they were going to get found guilty. But the reason why is, let's look at the trend. So you got 3 murders: Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, all happened last year, May. Only one got a conviction, which was this year, George Floyd. Breonna Taylor never even had a court case for her death. All right. Then you add on the fact you get a new president and the first 100 days go by and you don't get anything specifically as a group of people in the first election after your 400-year curse. So now let's back up for a minute and see how they were able to get a guilty verdict. Nobody wants to admit the fact that it was armed Black people, prisoners of war, that got the ball starting with Ahmaud Arbery. It was the NFAC. Well, it wasn't even the NFAC then. It was just it was just men of our group that went down there strapped up and walked that neighborhood. And so what I'm taking from this whole thing, looking back over the timeline, is look at what you have to do to get justice, you got to show up with rifles, NFAC, to even get the heat going on down there. You got to bring 50 preachers. You got to bring the new Black Panther Party. You got to go above and beyond to get justice. And I'm going to say this to our group of people. The bar is too low, people. Getting convictions on murder cases that's on video, that bar is too low. When are we going to get back to the money and the resources? You still ain't got shit. I'm going to stop right there and let y'all build on that. We got to raise the bar.
No, I
agree that the bar is too low. You know, we have definitely lost faith in the government, and it's just time for us to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, like you said, that, you know, the expectation of what we feel that they need to do for us, you know, we need to start doing it for ourselves by any means necessary.
Correct. It's just like you're saying, the bar is too low. Chief Alligator mentioned before that we have to do way too much just for what they so-called justice up under this government. Way too much. You know, this is a straight up murder happening, and we had to go through hell just to pretty much get a little bit of traction and a little bit of information coming out of this. The bar being too low, you know, as we study what our ancestors did, or, you know, their forefathers, they're pretty much, you know, created their own government, tried to secede from their own government. Didn't work out later on, but we have to kind of get into that mindset as well. Like, okay, this government is doing it that way, and we're still being trialed up under their systems. How about we some way, somehow break away? Even though it's kind of hard in today's time because, you know, you got traffic laws, you drive cars up under that system. So the things that we're thinking, yeah, it's kind of next level, but it has to be done. You know, this government denies and neglects you. What's next? All out mass murdering of all of us? Or what are we going to do? What are we going to do moving forward? Seeing how these cases are happening, following those timelines.
Keep it on.
I agree with what Chief Black Coat just said. I feel like the fact that you even have to talk about if a murder on camera is like if you're guilty for doing it or not is crazy to me. And I just want to know, like, I just want to know what we're gonna do to change that, because the more that we, like, yeah, you can post things on social media. I feel like it gets to a point where more like real life action, because social media only lasts for a while. Like, everybody was posting black screens earlier last year and this year, but then it died down and it went back to like regular times. But I just feel like we need to do things more on the real life level, because the things on internet, it doesn't really last.
We need to have a plan as a group.
Yeah, and then like that's the thing too. I feel like we need to have a plan, like with riots and stuff. That's just unchanneled anger and emotion. I feel like for us to actually have some type of structure, and I don't think that we have the structure that we need right now. I think there needs to be some form of structurized militarization of our people, just like there was with the Black Panther Party, that'll at least fight on our behalf.
Correct. And we're supposed to have protection or someone fighting for our protection. We're supposed to have that with our Black Caucus. No one even knows them. So it's almost like they're irrelevant to our group. And as you guys went over last week, well, who do they do for? So it's, even though the facade is still there and our group still feels... Go ahead, Chief. I'll keep going.
Oh, I was just about to say, sometimes I feel like people like that are of our race or ethnicity and nationality that don't do for us, not really on our side. They're just placed on our side. They blend, but they're working for a different power. They're working for a different set of people than for the goodness and progress of their own community.
Right. And that's why we're here every week. The big secret. Who are the Americans? You. And once we get that packed down and understand what it means to truly be the American in America, so much more unravels. So many more questions to our politicians, to our presidents within this system, within that government. We can shoot it to fade and ignore it, but so many more questions start to come out as soon as we understand who the American is. That's why we do the inventions. Go over in all the wars, reading the treaties. We gotta understand who the American is. It's kind of like a want. It's your birthright. It's already there. We just gotta stop ignoring the banana neglect. Once we acknowledge it, like, okay, why don't I get any six-figure checks in the mail? Why not? So we just gotta acknowledge it.
No, I agree with everybody on that one. I definitely agree with that. And like I said, the non-neglect is so strong when we're lynching on any victory that should be obvious, or that would seem to be obvious to everybody else. First, they should be, charged or convicted. Now, what are the charges now? That's going to be levied. Are they going to be life?
Right. Still waiting on that.
Life with parole, life without parole, minimum of 20 years. What's the things? Because of course, that can still play into it. Yes, we got a conviction, but
they might not come out and say nothing.
Exactly. That could mean nothing at the end of the day.
Mean nothing. Yeah, guilty on all charges. What's the charge? Nothing.
So, just again, understanding.
It is up to the judge's discretion.
Yeah, and understanding what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
See, it took 3 months just to get the ball rolling.
And I mean, rest in peace to Ahmaud Arbery, but this is the same script, so it's kind of like, how many more families got to be destroyed before we want to tear the script up and burn it?
I think that's what it's going to take.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be some catalyst that happens that changes everything, but I don't think it's going to happen just like
it has to
tomorrow. I think it's something. I think a lot has to happen still for that catalyst to come to fruition.
The government is shooting itself in the foot now. You're injecting people with poison. When people figure out, oh wow, this is not supposed to help me. They're pushing themselves into a lot of different walls right now. Running out of money, inflation. It's too much going on. It's too much.
For sure.
I'll add one last thing before we switch over. Notice how the only time that you get promoted on mass media is murders. So now that the Ahmaud Arbery case is over, now they're switching to this new variant. But again, you never get promoted for, hey,
more justice
for getting these resources. You never get nothing positive.
Reparation. Right.
It's always criminal.
That's what it's used for.
It's always criminal. It's always negative.
It's a control of narrative and perspective. And when everybody sees everything like that, it's just constant fear. That's something that I also see is like media is, there's a good side and a bad side to media. Media can make things look really good, but also media can control your perspective on what you think you can do and what you really can do.
Well, that's his whole job. So yeah, correct. That's the whole job of the media. But back to what Chief Alligator's saying, what's the image
think about
portrayed?
it, the Black Panthers had social media back in their time, and it was some people saying, y'all lame for doing this, or y'all crazy for doing this. A lot of people wouldn't have done it. But because there's social media and so many people can judge you on doing certain things or have their own opinion, it makes it to where some things seem less significant than it really is.
Right.
So, all great points there. And we're just gonna lead us to pretty much seeing how we also got into this situation or another point of emphasis on how we got into this situation. So we're gonna jump into the secessions here. And let me pull up the actual document.
Just trying to get into it.
You see, do I need to make this larger? That look decent?
Yeah, we're almost up.
So before we get into that, let's see exactly these states here. So the states that ended up seceding And pretty much taking our name as the Confederacy would be Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Florida, Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, and Kentucky. And Kentucky there. Let's see if we have any maps. There'll be these states here that will make up the Confederacy. As you see, most of them are east of the Mississippi, just a few, 4 of them west of the Mississippi, being pretty much Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, and Texas. But again, we all know this to be the pre-Confederacy, or the Muskogee Confederacy here. So again, taking our name, taking our land, taking our government structures, pretty much everything, and making it their own.
All right.
First, we want to get into just some readings and understanding how they did this and show how easy it was to do and how we can also do that as a people. So we'll start here with South Carolina, date 1861. Annotations: the seceded states drafted the following ordinances of secession that severed their connection with the federal union in an attempt to preserve state rights and their different cultures. The Secession Acts of 13 Confederate States. South Carolina: an ordinance to dissolve the union between the state of South Carolina and other states united with her under the compact entitled the Constitution of the United States of America. We, the people of the state of South Carolina, a convention assembled, do declare and ordain, and it is hereby declared and ordained that the ordinance adopted by us in convention on the 23rd day of May, in the year of our Lord, 1788, whereby the Constitution of the states ratifying amendments of the said Constitution are hereby repealed, and that the union now subsisting between South Carolina and other states under the name of the United States of America is hereby dissolved. Done at Charleston, the 20th day of December in the year of our Lord, 1860.
360.
1860. So the first thing that stood out to me would be this: we the people in convention assembled.
Mm-hmm.
We know that from the Declaration of Independence, the we the people were those, I believe it was 39 delegates that actually signed it. So knowing that, the we the people isn't everybody of the state of South Carolina. It's the people who were in convention assembled, who were assembled at this convention. Those are the we the people. So that's your governor, whatever your local politicians, maybe your secretary of that certain that state, whatever that state, federal state government, that would be your we the people.
Right.
So those people were the ones who decide for the whole state or for the citizens of said state.
All right. Speaking for the citizens, the European citizens.
Correct.
Living in that territory at the time.
Correct.
I bring a couple of if you go to that last sentence you read where it says in the year of our Lord 1060.
For this one.
Yeah. All right, so that's the first thing that jumps out to me, because what this clearly shows is what Europeans believe in and what we believe in, it's not the same Lord. Right?
Right.
Because their Lord, even in the treaty that we read, the first treaty, their Lord says we can conquer land and we can move people off the land and we can make them work in prisoner of war camps, right? So what we have to understand is, from a religious standpoint, if you claim to be Christian, y'all not serving the same Lord. Their Lord empowers them to kill and conquer other people. Their Lord makes you march and peacefully protest. That's the first.
Makes you docile, makes you meek.
The second point I want to add in is right above that, where it says under the name of the United States of America is hereby dissolved.
Mm-hmm.
Or let me say, and the union now subsisting between South Carolina and other states under the name of the United States of America is hereby dissolved. That is a legal business term. When you do not pay your taxes or renew your business license, your entity gets what? Dissolved. So this is a corporate fiction. You have to understand the United States government is not the land. America is the land. The United States government, aka the Union, it's a corporation. And so here, we the people of the corporation, the estate, South Carolina, they're saying we're severing legal ties with the United States government.
Right.
They dissolved it.
Dissolved.
They went out of business. They're going to go into business under a new name. Now they're going to claim our ancestors' form of government and claim to be Confederate. So that's like McDonald's saying, that's like me running a McDonald's and I'm saying, you know what, I'm gonna dissolve the McDonald's entity and I'm gonna create Burger King.
Right.
Wow.
I want to build on that.
Just a little pointer out for in the year of our Lord, 1860, their Lord at these times were the Pope, and anything he wrote on the paper bull became ordained, became their Lord. The Lord spoke to me. So you just going back, they're just listening to another man, their Lord, pretty much coming up with bullshit ass ideas and authorities to pretty much take land and move people around and conquer lands. Like, it's all BS. They're writing this shit to themselves.
Right. And then, like you said, in regards to just the distinction between the United States of America, how they're saying that is hereby dissolved. I mean, that's clear right there. That is fictitious rather.
They just wrote it off.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So.
For sure. Like Chief Alligator stated, it's pretty much one company breaking off from the parent company, which the parent company would have been the United States of America.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Any thoughts on the Chief? I keep it line.
I think y'all just summed it up pretty good. Anything that I add won't really change what y'all said. I think everybody had a good point that I'll tie together.
Let's see here. Shoot, let's jump into this next one here, Mississippi.
I'll
Go
do
ahead. You'll do it? Okay.
Mississippi, an ordinance to dissolve the union between the state of Mississippi and other states united with her under the compact entitled the Constitution of the United States of America. People of the state of Mississippi in convention assembled do ordain and declare, and it is hereby ordained and declared as following to wit, Section 1, that all the laws and ordinances by which the said state of Mississippi became a member of the Federal Union of the United States of America be, and the same are hereby repealed, and that all obligations on the part of the said state or the people thereof to observe the same be withdrawn. But that the said state doth hereby resume all the rights, functions, and powers which by any of said laws or ordinances were conveyed to the government of the said United States, and is absolved from all the obligations, restraints, and duties incurred to the said Federal Union, and shall from henceforth be a free, sovereign, and independent state. This just sounds like business terms to me. The state of Mississippi is basically saying we're withdrawing any taxes that we were paying you, off the percentage of resources and revenue that we were gathering. We're no longer doing that with you. We're keeping everything in-house. That's what I'm taking from Section 1, is we're no longer breaking bread with you.
It's fine. It's not like the ending of a contract.
Right.
For sure.
Anybody else want to build on that section?
Yeah, it's just like they're just severing their ties with them from any obligations, duties, and all of that.
And we have to keep in mind that for them to make these declarations and separate from the Union, what we have to understand is our capitals were taken over by their rogue military. We have to understand that. The same way that we built the Capitol in Washington, D.C., people who look like us, copper-colored people, we built that Capitol. We also built these capitals in these Confederate states. You have to understand that their military bum rushed us over time through these Seminole Wars, and they conquered our capitals. And so now they're operating as if they're us.
Right.
That's why they're claiming to be a Confederate. They're operating as if they were us. We were conquered. Our capitals were seized. Anybody else before I go to the next section? We got to think like that. We have to understand that that was the reality.
That's just a great point too, because again, what we read in the Constitution, what was it, Section 10, Article 1, clearly stated that nobody shall enter into the Confederation. So they're clearly going against what they, wrote about within this Constitution, and are, again, like Chief Alligator stated, are pretty much claiming our form of government, which was a confederation. So that's just very interesting to me, how they wanted to use that name for a union, or for a particular government structure. That was interesting to me. Out of all the different names they could have used, they specifically used Confederation, which again was our name and also was written in their Constitution that this could never happen.
Right.
So definitely interesting.
Well, okay. Great observation. What you have to understand, or not what you have to understand, but what's happening right now is that's the only name they could use as a confederation. The only way that that form of government could fall is it had to go into a fake war, and the European knew that. The rogue military knew that. And so now what's setting up, it's about to be the Confederates versus the Union, or the United States government versus the Confederacy, right? Mm-hmm. That's a way for them to go into a treaty, even though it's not going to be a treaty. But in other words, you can't topple this American form of government, a Confederacy, unless you take it into war and defeat it.
Gotcha.
So do y'all understand that the Civil War is kind of complicated, because ultimately it's a trick by the European. They made it look like they were fighting amongst each other, but really, no, we're just going to prop up this Confederacy, do a couple of battles with you, but ultimately we're going to succeed to the Union, because then we get the land anyway. Either way it go, we get the land.
Gotcha. So that's just basically saying they had to take that name because that was our government, and so it kind of like you're saying, they're almost committing like a fraudulent activity, like they took over our stuff. Now we're going to battle with ourselves, but once you beat us, then this Confederacy is no longer.
Right. And that's how the biggest land heist on planet Earth happened. Not to jump ahead of the Civil War, but that's how they ended up stealing all the land west of the Mississippi River, because the United States government was able to say, okay, all these invalid treaties that the military went into, now that we beat the Confederacy, all of that comes up under our jurisdiction. It was almost like I set you up to get robbed, basically. Mm-hmm. It's like, I know you got paid today, so we're going to ride out. And then when we pull up at a gas station, you get robbed. I tell them, shoot me in the leg just so it don't look like it's a complete finesse.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we set you up. That's what the European did with us. They set us up.
Gotcha. Makes sense. That's
the only issue I have. They never really beat us with that being tricky is a tactic, but they never beat us on like a physical tactic. Everything that they do is more so mental and like unseen. And I think that's the main thing that we have to get out of, is like the mental enslavement and being able to like think freely outside of what they teach us. Because every time they do something, all of these treaties that we're reading, none of it was like really in your face. A lot of it was like under the table, underhanded things that weren't really conceivable for the people who weren't used to that.
Roping you off, confining you to certain areas, those type of tactical war movements. Correct.
I'll pick up on section 2. That so much of the first section of the 7th article of the Constitution of this state as requires members of the legislature and all officers, executive and judicial, to take an oath or affirmation to support the Constitution of the United States be, and the same is hereby abrogated and annulled. So basically, all 3 branches, legislature, executive, and judicial at the state level within Mississippi, all those obligations that y'all took to that Constitution, they're basically saying that's over with.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Anybody want to build on that, or you want me to keep going?
Shoot, I think that's pretty self-explanatory right there. Shoot.
Okay. Section 3, that all rights acquired and vested under the Constitution of the United States or under any act of Congress passed or treaty made in pursuance thereof or under any law of this state and not incompatible with this ordinance shall remain in force and have the same effect as if this ordinance had not been passed. So all rights acquired through Congress or the Constitution or treaty or any law of this state and not incompatible with this ordinance shall remain in force. So basically anything that the state of Mississippi has directly contracted, we're going to continue to operate under that same procedure.
Correct.
However, anything relating to the United States, Congress, or any treaty coming through the United States, acting as if that didn't. So they're just severing ties, and they're becoming their own government. I want to build on that section.
Definitely, they're trying to again be slick with the pen, which we've seen them do with all of the documents here. But I'm getting here, it's like anything that's pretty much beneficial for the state of Mississippi, we're going to make sure we keep that.
Mm-hmm.
Just in simple terms, we're going to make sure we keep that. Anything that isn't, we'll do without. So when they say and not incompatible, that's pretty much saying and compatible with this ordinance.
Right.
So anything that's compatible with what we're writing here within this secession, we'll keep. Anything that's not compatible, we're going to dissolve, or like they stated, it's going to be annulled.
Correct. Yeah.
I'll do section 4, 10-4, Chief of Keebaline. That the people of the state of Mississippi hereby consent to form a federal union with such of the states as may have succeeded or may succeed from the Union of the United States of America on the basis of the present Constitution of the said United States, with such parts thereof as embrace other portions than such succeeding states. So basically, the people of Mississippi are considering to form a federal union. So they're using the word federal union, but we know that they're going to go up under a confederacy.
Right.
Gave the legal definition of a confederacy. It's basically a group operating as one, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm taking from that. If anybody wants to build on that.
So like I was saying earlier, it's like it's kind of annoying, but they just had a plan together. They had a plan. That's all they had was a plan. Like, it's not that they're better than us or anything like that. They just have a plan, and they actually stuck to the plan. They had checks and balances with each other, and they executed how they said that they were. Because there's no way that some people just, and I feel like they got better over time. Like, I feel like in the beginning, they were probably sloppy, like when they first met the Americans, and they were kind of giving them choices with like, hey, could you leave this land to us? Or like they basically, at first they had a choice. Then after there was no choices, it became more and more like aggressive and more warlike. And I feel like they just got better as time progressed, and they just started with a plan, and that's all you have to start with. Like, everything doesn't have to be figured out as soon as you start something. When it comes to like building your community or progressing your community, I just feel like that there needs to be a plan in place, and everybody needs to be on code with that plan. Because even the smallest people play big parts.
For sure. Just to piggyback off Chief Akiba line, we kind of know how they did it too. When you look at we the people, again, just understanding that term, it's not a large amount of people. So
Right.
when we're thinking of, the Civil War, yes, a whole bunch of people died, and they died for this cause. Like they died to make sure that the people who were these people, the plan was successful. So you're not going to tell everybody, the plan because they're going to be pretty much expendable at that point. Like they were already expendable because we know they were European peasants, debtors,
Right.
indentured servants. So they don't give a fuck about them anyway. They were trying to again take over this land. So it's kind of easy to go ahead and see how they did it. You only need 5 people from each state to know the plan. Make sure you get these people out here to fight this war. We're going to kill off some of these Union soldiers. You'll kill off some of these Confederate soldiers. But we know at the end of the day, this is what's going to need to happen. So they're pretty much cold-blooded at that point too. But again, they look at it as, what's the word? When it's not casualties of war, but it'll come to me. But yeah, it was just, we know what's going to happen. We're willing to sacrifice all these people because we know what we're set here for.
Right, during wartime.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they had to get enough of its citizens to actually sign something in agreement to seceding from the United States, get those votes up. Now, we the people, now they're acting as their own government for the citizens.
Mm-hmm. That propaganda, just like how we was talking about the media, all you got to do is say, oh, they're taking away the prisoners of war, aka slavery.
Right.
No, we can't do that. We got to fight the Union. Then you tell the Union soldiers, we want to free these prisoners of war. That's your propaganda right there. That's the same thing that gets taught to us in school during the indoctrination. But again, as we can see, that's not the case. The case was to expand the United States further west of the Mississippi, and they were successful in doing so. But again, it's the use of that propaganda to get people high in emotions and not kind of to think critically is what they used.
Right.
Can you highlight that first sentence in section 4? And where it says, as may have succeeded or may succeed from the Union of the United States of America, right there. But Mississippi is basically saying, people of that state of Mississippi hereby consent to form a federal union with such of the states as may have succeeded, so those states that have already separated from the United States, or may succeed from the United States, right? I'm looking at that as a business term. If you can pull back up your map of the Creek Confederacy real quick, or the Confederate States, just so we can get an idea. This area was popping. We have to get that in our mind. Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina. These peasants were coming from Europe. We got to understand it was popping. The cotton,
Right, everything.
The trade routes. They're like, hell no, we ain't finna break bread with the Union. We don't know what y'all got. It's cold up north. This is the richest area in North America, this Creek Confederacy. And these Europeans said, we want it. We gotta understand that. They wanted it. They got the Nile River, the equivalent of the Nile River, the Mississippi. Yeah, they were like, we want this.
Need it and got it.
Yeah.
Rogue military.
Easy trade access. But that word was collateral damage, and that's a military term. But yeah, they just used the indentured servants, them Europeans. Hey, this collateral damage, so we know what we're trying to do. Again,
Don't worry about that.
This was our stuff as far as this being west of the Mississippi. Now, but you see how they already set up Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana. We know this is what they're calling the American territory. But yeah, that was just an excuse to move out west when we know to be manifest destiny. So
right. And the collateral damage part is irrelevant. They had plenty more people. This is a new world for them. So not only are they Christian servants and peasants out of Europe, they understand, yeah, go set that up. We're gonna be over there when everything's in order. That's all this was. So yeah, they wanted it. If there are no resource. Clearly, we have more resources than them. Why leave home? Everything's here. Yeah, set up shop.
Right.
Through the road military.
We'll start next week with Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go ahead and do our readings. We're coming up on the hour. An hour fly by, don't it?
I do.
Oh, yeah. Stop my recording. Oh, here we go. I'll go ahead and start with the 12 steps. Pull it up here. All right. 13-week practical program of action for each American descendant of slavery. Step 1, learn about the estate or estates your family originated from. Step 2, who established that estate. Step 3, what nation and confederacy had jurisdiction over that area prior to the European. Step 4, ask all nonprofit organizations you attend, what's your position on reparations. Step 5, they either support it or they don't. No support, no money. However, if they support it, then immediately children and adults need weekly classes free of charge about steps 1, 2, and 3 and field trips to ADOS landmarks in that city, county, and state. Step 6, don't support European holidays for the remainder of the 13-week time frame. Step 7, avoid spending money with any small businesses that don't hire your people. Excuse me. Gas stations, nail salons, subways, etc. Step 8, all businesses need operating cash. Spend money with American businesses. Step 9, all other groups rely on our energy and operating cash to survive. The trends of making other groups follow our lead and support our clubs, services, products, and entertainment. Step 10, the U.S. government is bankrupt. The Federal Reserve prints money, i.e. quantitative easing. It also burns money, i.e. quantitative tightening. The U.S. dollar hasn't been backed by gold since Richard Nixon in 1971, the gold standard act. The government operates off the full faith of its citizens to pay debt and taxes. American descendants of slavery no longer have faith in the United States government. This is why financial support will be altered, stopped, and redirected. Step 11, teach your kids 1 hour a day about their history on this land. Have them learn about a Black inventor, an American inventor. Have them know about our heroes. C, they should know the European that conquered the estate you live in. They should know the nation of people prior to the European invasion militarily and culturally. Step 12, practicing these steps will educate us on the land we're claiming America and attaches us to the history and laws of the United States government. Every state American descendants of slavery live in should have steps 1, 2, and 3 advertised via social media, radio, and newspaper. This in 13 weeks, 1 fiscal quarter, will bring us together for our common cause. Right. Next year, we're going to have, I believe, Chief Quietwater, you're doing the quote for this week.
I was doing, did I say the quote or the legal?
I got the quote.
You got the quote. Chief Blacko, go ahead with the quote that you had for this week.
All right, so today I'm going with quote number 5. Real education means to inspire people to live more abundantly, to learn to begin with the life as they find it and to make it better. But the instruction so far given to Negroes in colleges and universities have worked to the contrary. In most cases, such graduates have merely increased the number of malcontents who offer no program for changing the undesirable conditions about which they complain. One should rely upon protests only when it is supported by a constructive program. Deep.
We'll go ahead with Chief Alligator and the Inventor for this week.
All right. Can you share that patent link from earlier?
Yes.
Drop it again.
Pull it up here.
You make it a little bigger. Okay. So for the third week in a row, I'm doing Granville T. Woods, AKA the Black Edison. Born to free Americans. This week, I'm going to do the system of electrical distribution. Federal patent number 569443. And he invented the system of electrical distribution on October 13th, 1896. He was born April 23rd, 1856, Columbus, Ohio. And he died January 30th, 1910, New York, New York. Mr. Granville T. Woods has claims to nearly 60 patents, many of which were assigned to major manufacturers of electrical equipment that are a part of today's life. And so this is near and dear to me. Somebody who majored in electronics. So if you scroll down to the bottom of this page, what we're looking at is a schematic or a wiring diagram. To understand that this man invented the wiring diagram, that everything that pertains to current flow or electricity comes from this man. Now in school, you're taught about Tesla and you're taught about Thomas Edison. However, the record shows that it was Mr. Granville T. Woods that actually invented the electrical distribution system. So you can see at the bottom right here is his power supply. And you see the letter N, which stands for neutral. And then you see the M representing the motor. And so you can see how these are the original symbols. A lot of this translate to today's wiring diagrams. And it's just amazing that he's our Lord God when you come to industries created. I mean, I don't know what the Woods family is doing now. As it says, companies like GE, you know, have gotten his patents. Thomas Edison has gotten claims to his patents because being a prisoner of war during those times, Europeans didn't want to accept the reality that it was somebody. This man behind me on this screen is Mr. Granville T. Woods. Back then, they didn't want to accept that this man invented the telephone apparatus, invented the electrical railway system, invented the electrical distribution system. So every time you flick a light on in your house and you get electricity, you don't need to thank Thomas Edison for that. You need to thank the man behind me, Mr. Granville T. Woods. And that's this week's in American Inventor, and I'll do another one of him next week. We can do this a whole year. He got 60 of it.
Oh, wow.
For real.
Wow.
We can really stop sharing.
And we do not get a percentage of income from this. I mean, this invention alone, that should be one of the wealthiest families on planet Earth.
Right.
Some of us are old enough to remember the commercial where it says, GE, we bring good things to light.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually Granville T. Woods that brought things to light.
Wow. Okay, so I'll do the maroon historical points. Number one was a person escaping slavery, seeking freedom, or breaking the law. Number two, providing unity and a strong defense came first. Number three, maroon leaders were first and foremost military figures. Number four, Maroons established guerrilla warfare, planting sharp sticks in thick grass. Number five, Maroons knew their European enemy's language, defenses, and plans. And then the legal definitions: number one, American, a native of America. Number two, descendants, one who follows in the bloodline of an ancestor, either lineally or collaterally. Number three, slavery, a situation in which one person has absolute power over the life, fortune, and liberty of another. Number four, prisoner of war, a person, usually a soldier, who is captured by or surrenders to the enemy in wartime. Number five, school, any institution at which instruction is given in a particular discipline. And number six, education and enlightening experience. That is it.
Can I ask y'all one question real quick? if Chief Biko, if y'all look at Chief Biko and look at the man behind me, an American, he doesn't have chains around his neck. You see what I'm saying? This man got on suit and tie. He got a #1 haircut, even Steven, right? This man could be any one of our fathers. If you just look at this man, nothing about this man. They tell us everybody was in the field picking cotton. Look at this man behind us. This man got on suit and tie.
Never pick no cotton.
He could be any one of our fathers. What y'all? I'm just thinking as I'm just looking at this man, and I'm like, wow, like this man could be my uncle.
Yeah,
Come from creators.
Had that same haircut and mustache
Right.
at one point. Everybody was rocking the MLK look.
Yeah.
MLK, you know,
Right.
MLK got the look from. No, you're right.
He looks like a gentleman. He doesn't look like anything other than a gentleman.
Right.
Right.
A thinker.
Yeah.
A hard worker.
Exactly.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to reduce us to this slave narrative. We're debunking it.
Putting too much proof of claim, right? That shit didn't, man.
Yeah.
Way past the slave, the total opposite.
Right. Exactly.
You still thinking on that level, then you got a lot of
Work to do for real. It's
you got a lot of catching up.
amazing.
His last minute,
Wakanda.
we're getting ready to close out. Do you have those caucus pages readily available?
Shoot, I can. It don't take nothing but a quick search for them.
Just close out on that. My closing statements would be to our people, it's simple. Stop supporting it.
Likewise.
If we're supposed to be slaves and we have no power, what's wrong with a 90-day test? Go 90 days and stop. I take it back to, it's so many different experiences I could share personally, but I'll just use the weight room as an example. Show me somebody that go to the gym 5 days a week for 90 days. And if you don't see them, and next time you see them 90 days later, you'll know, man, he's been working out.
Right.
Do that as a group of people. Sit down, learn about your lineage, learn what we're doing, and you'll come out on the other end 90 days later and your language will change. People can tell you went in the lab. That's our way out of this, is to
Stay focused.
why is it so hard to be an American? We take that term ADOS and we only focus on the first letter, American. But we've been showing you for 2.5 fiscal quarters, you're the American. Why is it so hard for you to just honor your great-grandparents, your great-grandparents that are all buried in this land? Why does your mind divert to Black or Afro-American or minority? Why can't you just be the American?
Right.
Nobody else has a problem with jumping off the boat and claiming to be you. Why do you not want to claim this man behind me and all the inventions that he created? This is an American. This man was born in 1856. And his parents were born on this land as well.
Right.
That man's an American. I close on that. Y'all can go over the about section, but that's my question is, why is it so hard for us to honor our ancestors and just be the American and put everybody else where they should? You're United States citizens. I'm an American.
School system.
Hmm?
School system taught them otherwise.
Right.
From college down, everybody, our own teachers, the American teachers, are in their code of still presenting false information.
Right.
African American, keeping us, all around the world except for right here.
Keeping our history starting at basically 1865. And
Right.
really we're in the Civil Rights Act. That's why they usually try to start our history. But again, as Chief Quietwater stated last week, the indoctrination of schooling. If we don't have anything to latch on to or to be proud of,
Right.
because we've done the research, we've done the legwork, understanding. Damn, our family, we was fucking shit up. We was fucking them up when they tried to come to the fisticuffs and shit. So, just knowing that history gives you something to be proud of. We do the American Inventors every week, gives you something to be proud of. Like we just said, Woods, Dr. Woods there, 60 patents that are or that continue to contribute to society to this day. An American. Like those are the guys, those are who we should be highlighting and give us reason to be proud, not only just our if not them, just look at our family, Like you said, our grandparents, our parents born on this land. To be honored to be called an American.
It is.
Mhm.
So you see these people here want to say African American and then want to bring others as well.
Right.
These are the people that continue to push this agenda.
It's time to go.
We'll get into detail as we go through this American timeline, but what we're going to do is we should be able to pull financial reports because this is a government entity, so the records are public, right?
Right.
So one of the things that I want to do is pull their records so we can see what percentage of resources have we been getting since 1971. We already know it's little to nothing because you're gentrified, you've been mass incarcerated, but yeah, we need to understand Afro-Americans and other marginalized communities. We've already explained those are 6 different itemized expenses that come under that word, marginalized communities. You got European women, you got gays, you got us, you got immigrants, you got illegal immigrants, and you got handicaps. You got 6 different subcategories under that term. And so there's a term we used to use back in the day called ant dicking. The ant dicking needs to stop. We getting shorted. And part of the problem is there's no business owners, there's no CPAs in these business meetings. It's just highly schooled people that may have a lot of letters behind their name, but that doesn't make you business savvy. There's no way that we should be having these business meetings without a CPA and accountant in that room, without the business sector being represented in that room, because clearly you don't know how to negotiate. There's no way the Black Caucus should not be itemizing specifically for quote unquote Black people. And I'm using the word only because that's the name of this corporate fiction, and it really needs to be renamed, and the about section needs to be amended. Played out.
I agree with that. Definitely agree with that because they're not specific. We'll never get anything because we're not specific. We're too broad. Look at even their bullet points.
Almost like they can't account for us. You're account for too many things, too many SKUs.
Exactly.
So you're not getting no work done.
Bottom line. Which is why you didn't see them for the Ahmaud Arbery case. That's why they bring preacher. It's a clown show, and it's like, again, they jump on the bandwagon at the end of something and jump in front of the cameras. But no, it was boots on the ground that got Ahmaud's family justice. Yeah, there was lawyers and district attorneys. Everybody had to do their part, but let's not get it twisted. You had to have guns walking around that courthouse, and you had to have guns going to Michael's neighborhood to even party started. So
We're
everyday civilians.
Yeah.
Yep. We seen that through history. We just saw that in the treaties. Who's signing them treaties? Wasn't no lawyers. People with them guns, the lieutenants, the infantrymen, and generals.
Or who had guns protecting them.
You know what I'm saying? So
these people absolutely do nothing for us. The other caucuses, there's 2 other caucuses. They've got an Asian and Pacific Islander caucus, and they also have a Hispanic caucus. And everybody reps specifically for their lineage. The only group that reps for everybody is us, and that's just a bad deal. It's just a bad deal at this point. And there's no way around a collapse, because for us to pull out, for us to say, you know what, we don't want to be called minority anymore. We are the American. That's reality. But then you're gonna have issues, but the issues, that's other people's shit. Like, why are you claiming to be us? See, once we stand up and say we're the American based on our lineage and our family, then everybody else has to honor where they're from. And here's the catch. Most Europeans will admit where they're from if you ask them.
Yeah.
For sure.
Everybody, any citizen.
Yeah.
They only
Proudly.
Yeah.
I said they will proudly.
Proudly.
Right. You ask them where they from, they'll say, oh, my family's from Ireland. Or see, they only play this white game with niggas because niggas go by colors. No, look at your family. Where's your grandparents from? They'll tell you, oh, Sicily. Oh, okay. So you're a US citizen, you're not an American.
Yep.
Right.
And I had an argument 2 weeks ago with an immigrant. And the immigrant sat right there and told me I'm Afro-American. And I said, well, if I'm an Afro-American, then you were saying that. And he looked at me and I said, yeah, you see how you disrespecting me, calling me out my name?
Exactly.
Right.
Call me what I am. I'm an American. And then when I asked him, where's your mama from? He said, Pakistan. I said, okay, so you're an immigrant. But the point is, he got upset because I'm not supposed to know who I am.
Right.
I'm not supposed to know who I am. I'm supposed to be Afro-American. No, I'm not an Afro-American, bro. I'm an American.
Facts.
What's y'all thought on that? I mean, because that's why these people have such disdain for us, because they come over here and they get classified under marginalized communities and they get resources that's supposed to be allocated to you. When you wake up, that means that they become the lower class again, which is who they were when they left their land. That's why they over here.
Right.
Yeah.
They just need to be put in their proper perspective. I mean, but we have the power to do that. It's on us. I mean, if we don't do it, it's not gonna get done.
They'll pretend to be the American forever.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else can come in and pretend to be the American. They come over here with all this enthusiasm because they prop them up, you know. So they come over. I'm an American. I got the American business now. Like, so it's nah, folks, that ain't how it works. But we got to get that straight, man. It's on us.
Why are we
Black Town?
Why? Yeah, but why are we not doing it?
Still relying on the government. Still,
just say we're American. Why do we always divert back to Black, Afro-American? Why do y'all think that is?
lack of knowledge, lack of information.
Yeah. Lack of knowledge.
That's the root.
Habits. It's like an addiction, trying to kick old habits.
Right.
Those that know, but yeah. Lack of
gotta recover.
Understanding too.
We don't know. We know now because of the work we've done. They don't know. They're still thinking, I'm not supposed to be here. I came off the boat. So there's nothing to fight for.
What do you think, Chief Quietwater? Why do you think it's so hard for us to just say we're American? To drop the color.
Lack of knowledge. We don't know.
We don't know.
Until we know on a mass level and know the history, then it's going to be the same thing.
Right.
Okay. Y'all ready to shut it down?
Yeah.
Good meeting tonight.
Yes, sir.
Good meeting.